ask you a simple but important question. Who does this heritage belong to? This entire heritage, who does it belong to? Does it belong to Reform Jews, Conservative Jews, Orthodox Jews, Reconstructionist Jews, Renewal Jews, Bagel and Lax Jews, spiritual but not religious Jews, physical but not religious Jews, Buddhist Jews, ultra-Orthodox Jews, Hasidic Jews, right-wing, left-wing, centrist, modern, almost modern, semi-modern, modern on Monday, conservative on Wednesday? I open up the Torah. I read the Torah. I don't see any labels. I don't see it belonging to any group, denomination. Person who dresses like this or dresses like that. I know a verse that Moses, the same Moses, says at the end of his life, Torah tziva lanu Moshe, my Rasha. Thank you, like my shviger. My Rasha Kehilas Yaakov, he calls the Torah an inheritance to the congregation of Jacob. What does an inheritance mean? God forbid, a father who's worth, a mother who's worth millions of dollars passes away and they leave an infant who's 1 day old. He is an heir to the entire wealth. He may or she may not be aware of it till they get older, but there's still an heir. When Moses says every Jew is a yoirish, an heir, it's not dependent on their level of knowledge or even their level of observance. The Torah, the entire heritage of 3,500 years ago, spanning all these millennia, through thick and thin, great moments, exhilarating times, and difficult times, belongs to every single member of the Jewish people, with absolutely no distinction. And this we have to remember, the story that the Midrash brings about one of the greatest Jewish kings, King Solomon. And I tell a story about him because his name was Shlomo. And Shlomo comes from the word shalom, peace, oseh shalom, tranquility. And the Midrash says, and TOUS brings it in Menachos 37a, the first half of the story. There was a boy born with 2 heads. And of course there was a fight in the family. How could there not be? He wanted a double portion of his father's inheritance. He has 2 heads, right? It's like I always say, what's chutzpah? You come to a therapist because you have a split personality and you want a group discount. So this fellow, he didn't only want a group discount, he wanted a double portion of the inheritance because he has 2 heads. So they came to King Solomon. So what did King Solomon say? What would you say? King Solomon says, I have an idea. We're going to blindfold one of the heads and we're going to pour cholent on the other one. Well, he didn't say cholent. There was no cholent at the time. But the water. If the other head screams, then we know it's one person. If the other head doesn't scream, we know it's 2 people. He poured cholent or water, hot water. The other head gave a little scream. He said, you're one person. You get 1 portion of the inheritance together with your siblings. Friends, what's the point of this midrashic story? Why did it happen to Solomon? The point is deeply symbolic and metaphoric. We, the Jewish people, don't have 1 head. We have many heads. 3 Jews, 28 opinions. We don't have 1 head. We don't have 1 way of thinking about things. You go around this room and ask people their opinions about fundamental questions in life, and everybody has a different perspective. And one's hero is somebody else's villain. You'll even go around this room after I finish speaking and ask the people, what did you think about Rabbi Jacobson's speech? And everybody will have a different perspective. We don't have 1 head. It's just the way it is. We have different mindsets, different brains, multiple ways of looking at something. It's our strength, it's also our challenge. King Solomon says, I don't care. What I care is one thing. If hot water is poured on one head and the other head screams, I know it's one person. If the other head doesn't scream, then it's not one person. The Talmud says, Kol Yisrael arevim ze b'zeh. All Jews must care for each other. We don't have to agree with each other, but we have to care for each other. I may have a different head than you, but if hot water is being poured on somebody's head, I scream because we're one person. But if hot water is being poured on one head and the other one stops screaming, then we worry it's not only a different head, it's already of a different person. We are one large extended family. There's a difference between family and friends. You get into a fight with your friend, and tomorrow morning you may cease to be friends. It happens sadly all the time. Not with Jeff, but with some other people. What about family? You get into an argument with your brother, with your sister, with your sister-in-law, with your brother-in-law, with your child, with your uncle. Tomorrow morning, you're not family anymore. You're always family. We are family. And because we're family, we can disagree. But we always have to care for each other. Always have to be sensitive to each other. Always have to be empathetic to each other.